Okay, you guys. So I'm officially recording. Let me get my screen cast on. So today we're going to take a tour of Adobe After Effects. This is the program that we're going to be using the whole semester, unless we have a little bit of time to dip our toes into Cinema 4D, which is also a really cool program. But there's a lot to learn about After Effects. So when you first open After Effects, now you're seeing my previous files that were just open. But you might see a welcome window. I just now turned mine off. But when you first open After Effects, you might see a welcome window that has some information about updates or just what's new in After Effects. Those are kind of cool. Check them out. Sometimes they have these little tutorials that you can work through in less than 5 minutes and learn something really cool. So those are good things to know about. Right now, what you're seeing on my screen, these are just previous projects, things that I had open. As you can see, I haven't opened this since last spring, so everything's been closed for about 3 or 4 months. So today's going to be a fresh opening for me in a while, and probably a new experience for you guys. So when you open After Effects, you'll just go to New Project, since we don't have any projects right now, and we just want to look at the work area. So when you first open a new project, you're going to see a window that looks like this. And we're going to talk about this window a lot throughout the semester, okay? So this is your introduction to just the main window. This is what a project looks like when it's brand new and it doesn't have any work in it yet. So it's just waiting to be populated with content to be used for different things. Now, Adobe After Effects is a compositing program. Do y'all know what I mean by that? It's a compositing program. Well, it's a program that allows you to create compositions that can consist of multimedia. So you can create compositions with animations, you can animate type, you can incorporate sound, finished video, you even have some basic editing capabilities or ways to control that media once it's been brought into this program. You can bring in graphic design elements, photographs, any kind of digital media, for the most part. I mean, I can't think of anything except for, well, I mean, we even do some coding in After Effects for certain types of effects that get applied to visual elements. So this is a compositing program, and that means that you compose in this program. You bring in content that was either created in After Effects or a combination of content that was created in After Effects and content that was created in other programs and imported into After Effects to create a larger composition. Now, right now, this is telling me that my cache folder is full, so I'll need to deal with that later. And that's kind of a good warning sign to pop up for this first, tour of After Effects, because you will get that message at some point. And the reason why is because After Effects is a speed and memory hog. And so whenever you get that kind of a message, you'll want to clear your cache in After Effects. And you can do that up here by going to After Effects in the menu bar and go to Settings and go to General, or if you open General, you will still have access to all of these different places within that window. I'll go to Media and Disk Cache, and I will where to put it. Usually I just click on that and it does it. don't even know what folders it wants me to. Oh. I guess it's all this stuff. It's never taken me down this far. Normally it just automatically lets me delete it. Right here. It's not. Let me choose it. All right, another way to free up space quickly. I'm not sure why it's not letting me choose this button. Always it does. I just hit that and it empties it out. I have no idea what's going on. I'll have to come back to that. But another thing that can be causing that is having too many files on your hard drive. So if you have a lot of really large files, look at your disk space on your computer. This program takes a lot of space to be able to run. And so, like in my case, because I record all my lectures, my videos end up on my computer until I upload them to YouTube. But sometimes I'll have quite a collection that I'll just forget to go in and delete, and that will eat up a lot of space on my computer fast. And when I go in there and delete that folder and get rid of anything else I don't need, large video files, it clears up the problem. So just keep that in mind. Again, I'm not sure why it wouldn't let me hit that button for empty the cache, this cache, but normally that's another way to do it too. I do both of those things. I clear off my computer of unnecessary files, and I clear the cache. So anyway, I'm just telling you that because you guys will run into that at some point. So what are we looking at here? All right, so we're looking at the workspace. Up here in this window, this is called the project window. These two windows really kind of go together. So it's all the project window. This space down here in this part of the window, that is where you will see all of your assets populate as you bring content or import content into After Effects. So let's say you might have some video files that you want to work with. Maybe you have an animation that you did in Adobe Animate. Maybe you have a logo that you created in Adobe Illustrator. Maybe you have some sound snippets or some music that you want to use in your composition. All of those files that you import, you will see them listed in this window right here, where I'm creating this little box here, okay? Now, this window up here in this space, this is your preview window for your project files or your asset files. So sometimes, when you look at them listed in this window, they're just listed with just like a file name. You don't get to see any kind of a preview of what those files are. But if you want to preview the files to see what kind of files they are, what's on them, you click on them down here to highlight them, and when you do, information will show up in this preview window. So if you have a graphic design element that you created in Adobe Illustrator, when you import that element, it will import as either an Illustrator file, or if you export it as a PNG, it'll show up as a PNG or whatever. But all you'll see is just the icon for that element, what program it was created in. It doesn't give you a preview. So when you click on that item, then it will show you, if it can, a preview. Same thing with video files will give you a preview. You can see up there, you can actually watch it play out in that tiny little window. Sound, you'll see a waveform in that window to let you know that there is sound in that element. So that's what this whole window is for right here, is for importing your assets and to also be able to preview them. Down here in these two windows, and I do refer to these as two windows, but it's really the timeline, the whole thing. But it's separated into two sections. So this section right here, where I'm hovering my cursor, this is your layers window. So if you're familiar with Photoshop or Illustrator or Adobe Animate or any program that uses a layers panel, same thing here. So that whole, the principles and the concepts with regard to layers and how you stack them and how that translates visually, that they're all the same across the board. So the layer that you will see at the top of the stack is what is on top of everything in that layer order. It goes from top to bottom, top meaning closest to you in the foreground, bottom meaning farthest away from you in space when you're thinking about the composition window. So this area is where you create or you build the content for your compositions. Through your layers window, you organize the content. This window out here, where I'm moving my cursor around, this is the timeline. So this is where we make all the animation happen. Now right now it's just blank. It doesn't look like it would be either one of these would be windows for anything, but they are. And once you start to, populate this layers window with content from your asset window, then you will see this timeline light up with numbers and frames and ways to measure time. Up here at the top, this is your tool window, and let me see if I can move that. I can't. And it basically, it doesn't really change much. It has all the tools that you're going to need for designing, for creating type, for animation, for rotating things in 3D space. And I won't go over these all together right now because a lot of those tools won't mean anything to you until we actually get to the point in the semester where we actually use them. But the tools that are going to be most important to you starting out are going to be this guy right here, the selection tool. We're going to learn about the type tool. We're going to learn about the pen tool. We'll probably even look at the basic drawing tools right here. So for some reason this is not expanding when I click on it. But what I was wanting to show you when I kept tapping on that is that anytime you see a tool with a little triangle in the bottom corner like you see here, that means that there are more tools to choose from in that stack. Now I know why it's not letting me choose that. It's because I have not begun a composition yet. Which brings me to the composition window. One more thing I want to say before we get to the composition window is the properties panel is extremely important, and we're also going to explore effects and presets as well. Right now, properties is empty because it says no selection, nothing is selected, we don't have any projects yet. But once we create a project, then you will see content in this window, the properties window. This properties window is context sensitive. And what it shows you are a set of options that relate to something that you have selected. It could be a tool. It could be an object in your composition window. So this window will always change. So get used to that. These two, or this window and this tool window at the top here, those kind of work in connection with each other, kind of in unison. So as you pick things up here, you're going to see things changing down here. As you pick things in the composition window, you're going to see things updating in here. All right? So this is an always moving, evolving kind of thing. Now, we don't have a composition set up yet, but this is the composition window right here. This whole space, nothing's going on in there yet. These are buttons. This and this. Those are buttons for getting new compositions going. All right? So we have two options. we can create a brand new composition, and then we have to set up the specifications for it. So that means, what's the physical size of that composition window? What's the background color going to look like? What's the output resolution going to be? All these things you have to think about when you create a new composition window. Now, sometimes you want to create a composition not just from scratch, but maybe you have a video that's going to serve as the background for a composition. And you have elements that you need to add to that. You've gone out into the wild, you've taken some footage of something, you've brought it back to your computer, you know that you want to add maybe some lower thirds type in that. Maybe you have some little animations that you want to add, or a logo that appears in the foreground in front of this video element. When you want to start a composition that way, you don't want it just makes better sense to begin it from footage, because what happens then is that it will automatically create a document to the right specifications for that footage. And that way you don't have to worry about your composition window not being the same dimensions as your video. So, that's just, and it'll make sure it's the right speed. So it'll create a composition with the speed that aligns with the content that you're using for that composition. All right. Let's look at some previous. And let's just see if I can even open recent. It's been so long. Open recent. I am just randomly picking something here. Let's go to this one. So I'm opening a document from a previous document. It should open. Maybe it doesn't like me to open it from up there. File. Maybe it's thinking about it. Okay. Now, I have no idea what's going on in here, okay? I really just randomly opened this. But there's some good things to talk about in this example, okay? So, I'm glad I opened it. Where do I want to begin? Okay, project window, right here. So, remember earlier that was blank, nothing in it? So, now you can see what it can look like when you have a lot of different projects. And I don't want to go too deep today, but because I don't want to confuse you guys. But I just want to explain to you what it is you're looking at in this window, in this project window. We have all different kinds of assets. So we have a Summer Forest MP4 file. So it looks like a little QuickTime logo there. And that is actually the background back here. So, get my space bar here. I'm trying to find my sound. So that composition was created from footage. So when I created a composition from footage, it went ahead and created a composition window that was the perfect dimensions for that video and the perfect length, duration. So that's important. And so you can see what these assets look like when they're in the project window and how you can differentiate what one is versus another. So Summer Forest MP4, that is a video file. It looks like this in my project window. and it looks like this in my preview window. So it's showing me that it's video and that it also has sounds with it. But actually, that's not the sound that I'm using. I'm using this sound, soft woods. So when I click on this asset, it shows me in the preview window the waveform, that is just a sound file and nothing else. And I've just dropped it in, okay? Now, these different elements, these are individual compositions. And so what that means, think of a composition as a vignette or a mini movie within a larger composition. And we're going to get into compositions in this module. So I don't want to get too heavy today. But a good example of what a composition within a composition looks like is, let's see. So here's the lower third that I created as a separate composition. All right. And so that's what it looks like right here. Lower third practice comp. And so what you see in that, what you saw in that previous example was compositions showing up at different times in the timeline. So think about it like a layering effect, okay? Layer one for us is the background of this forest scene. And then we have the comp that comes in. Let me make this a little bit bigger so you can see the whole thing. Ooh, it didn't like that. Here it goes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm trying to explain to you what you're seeing here. So if you look in the timeline, in the layers portion of it, I have 3 layers. I have the Softwoods sound bite, the MP3, that plays throughout the whole thing. I've got the Summer Forest MP4. That's the video. What happened? That's the video that plays over and over. And then at the very top of the stack is, I did it again. I think because I touched the desktop, that's why. And then at the top of the stack is the lower third practice comp. That's just what I named it. So when I created this composition right here, you can see in this window I have a whole list of compositions. But for this particular one that you're seeing, it consists of video, sound, and a comp that I created separately from that and dropped it in here. Okay? So let me show you something. I'm going to open the practice comp. Expand it. There we go. And I want to show you where it pops in. That might be just the whole duration of it. I wanted to show you how these compositions can be staggered. So let's say if I had 2 different lower thirds that came in, one after another. If I have one, and then this disappears, and then immediately another one pops up, then I would have 2 separate compositions for that, and have them show up at different places in the timeline. Does that make sense? So if they're spread out. Now, you guys are not going to have to do this by the first module. I'm just giving you a tour, showing you what you can do, what's possible, and what it looks like. It can be a little overwhelming. I mean, if you've never seen this before and you saw this, you might think, oh, maybe I'm in the wrong class. But you're not. This stuff is really a lot easier than it looks, but it can be a little overwhelming at first. But one thing that I wanted to mention to you all is sometimes This has to do with file organization, and I will definitely talk a lot about this on Tuesday. But do you see these elements right here? These assets that have like this weird, it looks like a test pattern, that I would see on TV when I was growing up after midnight when all the TV shows went off. And you hear the Star Spangled Banner, and there'd be something like that up there.
Yeah.
So this is not, whenever you see a symbol like this in your project window, that means that there's a problem. But don't stress about it. It's fixable. What happens is when you create compositions in After Effects, remember when I told you about bringing these assets together from different places and importing them into this project? Well, those don't actually become embedded in that project and become part of that hardwiring of that project. After Effects is simply letting you preview these documents from someplace else. So they're linked files. And so it's really important when you have an After Effects file, and believe me, I'm going to go through this over and over and over throughout the semester, and it is one concept that all students really struggle with. But when you create a project in After Effects, first step, create a folder. Immediately create a folder and save your project in it. And then any assets that you import into that project, they need to live in that same folder. Don't let them live on the outside or a different place in your file directory or on your desktop. You need to keep your house nice and orderly. Okay? So always keep those things together in the same folder. That will help you for breaking links. So if a link ever does get broken, it's fixable. But obviously I moved, and sometimes just moving a folder, even if it's packed with everything that it needs, just moving its location can be enough to break that link, even though those things are still in the same folder. So here's how you fix that. And fingers crossed, I can fix this for you today, maybe if I can find these files. But I'm going to go look for a file called C-Wave. So, because it's got that little test pattern next to it. I'm going to double click on that, and it's going to bring up a file directory. Lord help me. If I get, documents, yes. C-Wave. I know what that's at. I can find that. Okay, course content. So I'm going to the folder where I think I think it's a sound file. What I could do is just type it in here. C-Wave. That might be a much quicker way than you guys going watching my horror show of a file organization. So this should bring up every file that I have that says C-Wave. Oh, I wrote it wrong. C-Wave dot wave. It's a waveform file. Okay, so here we go. So I just did a search for this file. It went and found it on my file directory, and I've got it right there. So I can plug it back in. And not only did it update that one, but sometimes just relinking one file is good enough to go back and relink all the other ones that were not linking correctly. So that's how you fix that problem. So don't panic when you see that. understand how that probably happened, that these project files are just really picky. So this is what the window looks like when you have content in here that's been put together. So here's another example, and this is just some examples of things we're going to do in this class. So everything that you're seeing, get ready because you're going to end this semester knowing how to do this stuff. So here's another kind of cool project we're going to work on, where we create masks and we make something look like it's falling apart. I just applied this to type, but you can apply it to objects too.
That's cool.
So that's some cool stuff. And the reason why I have so many compositions in here is because this is just a teaching file that I use because it has lots of different examples. So a professional project probably wouldn't look like this. It would have a different kind of structure to it. But I just have a lot of different compositions created just as examples to show people and stuff. So here's another one. Just a real quick and simple masking feature. Where it looks like a light being shown on a word. I wanted to show you one. Let me show you a composition with 3 different staggered compositions, so you can see what I'm talking about in the timeline. And what I mean by that is, I'm going to show you an example of a student project where they have 3 mini movies, little vignettes, and they each have a video element, a graphic design element, and sound, and then one composition plays through, and then the next one plays, and then the next one. So they're in a nice sequential order. And I want you to see what that looks like in the timeline.
And you can have multiple compositions in one?
Oh, yes. Yeah, and in fact, that's the way you do it. So let me drill down to that really quick. Those are just the supplemental files. Let's see. The only thing that I really gripe about, now I understand why it can't be, but I wish you could have more than one project open at a time in After Effects, so that you can compare, if you're looking for something specific, and it just doesn't have that capability. So when you're going through files, you actually have to shut one all the way down and then open up another one.
You have to completely close it?
Yes. Don't know if that's it or not. Nope. All right, I'll show you guys this example, and then I'll let you go for the day. And then on Tuesday, we're actually going to start creating some visual elements and importing them into After Effects and animating them. And we'll take a deep dive in learning about the timeline, how to move objects, how to control their paths and rotations and scales and things like that. And then we'll move on to actually creating stuff in After Effects, which is really cool. So here is an example of, we'll call this something that looks more like a finished composition, okay? And what I mean by that is that it has 3 vignettes, and one plays after the other, and they each have those 3 elements that I was talking about. All right, and then you can see down here in the timeline how those vignettes are staggered. So you see how there are blocks shaded out on each of these composition layers.
Are they the gray ones or the ones that are kind of brown?
They're kind of brown.
Okay.
And so this means, as I scrub through here, you're seeing the first video, and when I get to the end of this brown rectangle and enter the next one, you see the next video pop up. And that's what's visible then. And then the last one.
Oh, that's cool. That text was added?
Yeah, you're going to learn how to do all that in here. And so when I play this, and there's sound to it, or there should be. Y'all see the type and the brick?
That's too cool.
So, in this final, think of compositions as like nesting dolls. You know what I'm talking about? Those wooden nesting dolls. You take one lid off, and there's another doll inside. You take that lid off, and there's another doll inside. It just keeps going and going and going. So, think about compositions that same way, all right? So, think about this one right here. This composition that you guys just watched is the big doll, with all of its parts and pieces and layers inside of it, okay? And then we take off one piece, and we can drill down to all the different layers of this that go into making this. So within this composition are 3 separate compositions. I can get into the nuts and bolts of each of these compositions either from the layers window or in the project window. It doesn't matter which one. If I want to go to Pan Bridge and open that up, now I'm out of that previous composition, and now I'm in the Pan Bridge composition. And that's it. And so now you can see all the work that went into to build this composition. So I've got a 3D tracker camera for the type, and then the type for by the sea. I've got the video file, I've got the bike click sound in there, and I have the sea wave sound in there. And so I built this little composition with these elements. And now that it's a composition, think of it as it's all packed up like a suitcase. And I can carry it anywhere I want to go and plop it in, and it's still loaded with all of its stuff. It's got everything it needs. But I can also put it in a bigger suitcase with other suitcases that are loaded with their stuff. Does that make sense? It's kind of how we think of compositions. And so when you see the final product, I'm going to take a wild guess and assume it's the one that says final movie. But when you look at the final product of the final composition, you don't see all the nuts and bolts and the people, working behind the curtains, so you don't see all the magic going on. All you see is that they're wrapped up in their suitcases, compositions, plop, 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 right where they need to go in the timeline.
Once you did that, can you go back and change?
Absolutely.
Cool.
So if I want to go back and make this type a little bit more opaque, no problem, man. I'm just going to go over here to this composition. not showing it to me for some reason, but it's there. Oh, that's the wrong one. Which one was it? 5C?
Do that one, because you really can't see the white when it's plain. I mean, you can see it, but it's kind of hard with the glare in the water.
Oh, yeah. I've done this one so many different times. Sometimes I make that type yellow. But you know what? I'm going to do this one right now. I'm going to put a drop shadow behind the type. So see, we're going to fix it, and then we're going to go back and see those changes in the final composition.
Cool.
Because when you make an update to a composition that's used in a larger composition, it automatically updates all the way up the chain.
Huh.
So let's do that. I'm going to do it from my computer because I feel like I can just see it better.
Are adding drop shadows different than like Premiere Pro?
Premiere Pro, I'm assuming they're very.
That we use for your graphics.
Well, so I have the text layer selected right now. And I'm going to add a drop shadow, but I think there's a way you can do it for the properties window. Oh, which I kept forgetting to remind you guys about. But notice how when I have this text layer selected, and also the different compositions and different layers, they are color-coded in the timeline. That's also a really helpful visual cue to let you know what kind of content you're working with. Now, feel free to holler out if you see drop shadows. If not, I'll just go up here to Effect and apply one. Y'all see drop shadow anywhere? It's here. Perspective. No, because it's finished video. But now with that drop shadow behind it, it's a lot easier to see. And you can darken it. Yeah. So you probably could alter the appearance of it in a program like Premiere. And then bring it in as finished video. But After Effects won't allow you to go in and alter that video. You can do some things to the video in After Effects, like you can speed it up or slow it down. But as far as like changing the actual pixel content, you'll have to go to a program that allows you to access it at that level.
I don't know what anybody else is doing. I've seen professionals and stuff where people do that.
Oh,
and you can't see the word. Like,
yeah.
why did you do that?
Yeah, I know. And this is, I'm sure there are better examples of water that I could have found online of moving water, but yeah, it's been a struggle for me too. So.
I'm talking about you.
Yeah, well, but it is. I mean, it is kind of hard to see, but that drop shadow made a big difference.
So when you add content to the composition, it's actually changing the pixels that are on the screen from the video that's playing? Or is it adding pixels, or is it changing the ones that are already there?
What do you mean?
Like the original video, right, would be
Just the water.
Just the water. And so you're adding
the type.
Mm-hmm. to it. So it just puts it all together.
It does not add the type to the water.
Oh, no,
they're always separate.
Okay.
Think about it like layers, like in Photoshop, like in Illustrator. We just have that type, and if you look at it over here in the layers window, the text is right here at the top of the stack. And it needs to be, because it needs to sit in front of the water.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to change its order and move it down here,
then it would be behind.
it'd be behind.
Okay.
We couldn't see it.
Mm-hmm.
So, no. So that type, those type elements or anything else you add, it does not fuse with the video pixel content.
Okay.
Right?
It's its own.
It's its own thing.
Entirely. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
There we go. And so now that I've done this, hopefully this is the exact same one that I had the bigger composition. But we should see the update in the larger one. So let's check that out. Okay, so final movie. And there it is. So it just automatically updated this type in here. I can see the drop shadow behind it. And you can control the appearance of the drop shadow. I mean, we're just kind of in a hurry. This class is pretty much over. But I could darken it, and I could even spread it and feather it out a little bit more. And that would give it just enough contrast, you know, with the white lettering and then the white in the background that it would help pop it out. So these are the things that you're going to learn about in this class this semester. We're going to start out real slow on Tuesday and working with just real simple forms. And then we're going to move on in Module 2 to actually working with content that we create in After Effects. Do y'all have any questions? How do y'all feel about this?
Pretty good.
There's no homework. So the only homework I would assign to you guys is just if you have a chance over the weekend to kind of open this program up and take it for a test drive. You can't break anything. But just, you know, look, take a tour of it. When you first open it, the welcome window will probably have some real quick little tutorials that you can work through. And they offer the exercise files to you so you can download them. And I mean, I'm not kidding. These things take less than 5 minutes. These little tutorials, they have it down the way they create them, and they'll just have you up and running so fast. And after I work through some of these, I feel inspired to just keep digging in and, you know, looking for more, you know, little projects to do. But anyway, that's it for today, folks. I will put this video up later this afternoon if you want to go back and watch it. So if you want to take a tour on your own and check things out, I'll have that video up for you.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.